Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, John Donovan.
Hey, Marty Keller.
Welcome to the Intentional Living Podcast. This is our ongoing series of conversations where we discuss how to break patterns of behavior that we say we don't want, that nonetheless continue to show up, manifest, and sometimes even seem to control us. So, for example, have you ever hurt someone that you loved and later regretted it? Have you, and then hurt them again, maybe even in the same way?
Hmm.
Have you ever realized in the middle of an argument with someone that you were on the wrong side of that argument and you continued to argue the point anyway? Or have you ever known that you were about to do or say something that you would regret? You knew it, maybe even heard a little voice warning you, and yet you found yourself unwilling or unable to stop?
Hmm.
Well, in this podcast, we examine and uncover subconscious obstacles to what we want. Those what to We take a look at what generates those behaviors, and we learn to befriend those obstacles, and we make them allies in creating the lives that we want. So the one of the things that we can do to support each other in that is to review a series of principles that John and I and our colleagues Dan and Rodney have come up with over the years. These principles are ideas, or some might even call them laws, psychological laws that help us illustrate either how the inner psychology works to become an obstacle, or what we can do to liberate them and befriend them and create something much more in alignment with our adult conscious minds. So, before we get started, John, any comments or thoughts that you'd like to share with us to kick us off?
I've been doing this specific accountability work for 28 years. And the ideas that I propose around accountability or breaking patterns is information that's out of people's frame of reference. So when they hear me talk, it doesn't fit their frame of reference. So they either change it to fit it or they dismiss it as one of the guys in the group said, John, cut the psychobabble stuff. Just give us the answer. And which made sense to me because I know that when I first heard this information, I either rejected it outright as nonsense or silly, or why would you do that? Like, for instance, an agreement I made in my violence intervention class. The agreement was I agree to disclose 100% of what I need 100% of the time with no expectations of getting it. And I'm thinking, why the hell would I do that? It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Now, after years of practice, I'm absolutely willing to make that agreement to ask for what I want when I want it and have no expectation of getting it, because that opens up the conversation, opens up the relationship, opens up space for dialogue and connection, which I had no idea even was a goal to attain. So, um, so we use these principles to engage in dialogue, like, what do you mean by that? Or that doesn't make any sense. Or that's just straight up, that's not true in my life. I don't ask people to treat me the way they're treating me, and they're treating me that way. So explain that one, you know? Okay, I'm glad you asked. Let's look at it. Let's talk about it.
Well, it's funny you said when you started your remarks there, you talked about somebody who says, just give us the answer.
Yeah.
So I'd like to refer our listeners to the podcast we did a couple of weeks ago called The Answer is Not the Answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
If getting the answer is important to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I had one gentleman in the class in jail do that. In fact, it's a guy that said, cut the psychobabble stuff and just give us the answer. And I said, okay, all right, you want the answer? I'll give you the answer. It's not going to make sense to you, but I'm going to give it to you. He goes, what is it? I said, go home, be nice, don't drink. Now, between
QED.
where you're at and that answer is the journey I would like to take you on.
Yep.
So,
I also want to make a quick comment, if I could, on the insight that you had about shifting perspective.
yeah.
And that's it. Earlier this week, I had cataract surgery on this eye here.
Oh,
And so they replaced the old lens with a new one, which is what,
oh,
that's kind of the point of it. But when I got home and my vision cleared so I could focus again, I noticed that when I closed this eye, or when I did this, that what I saw out of this eye was colored slightly, a light brown color, as opposed to this eye, which was much clearer. And I thought, isn't that interesting? I've gone through all my life assuming that what I was seeing was accurate.
correct.
Or a better way to say it, or maybe a more accurate way to say it, I had no idea that I was seeing everything with a slight brown wash. And I don't know if I was seeing that my whole life or whether that's something that's developed recently, but if it did, it happened so slowly that I never noticed it. But all of a sudden, it's like I have a completely different perspective about light and my eyeballs and how we see. And it even
Okay.
led me to ask the question, how do I know that this new lens is any more accurate than this old lens?
Good question. Good experience. And that's a good analogy to what we're doing. Is it because people believe, well, not people, I don't know about people, I know me. I believed I saw clearly when I first started this journey. It's like, come on, everybody, just get on board with John. Hey, come on, I'm giving you the answers, and I'm how, and then nobody listens to me, so then you blame me. So okay, and what I was looking through was a filter developed by this mechanism that's trying to keep me alive based on the unresolved trauma that shade. It's, I guess another word would be the veil, the veil that everybody, the mystics talk about, that's standing in your way of seeing what's really there. And that example with your cataract, the cataract,
Yeah.
is an example of how this works. So we talk about these principles, and my goal is to draw the veil back, just get a peek in there and go, oh, what else am I missing? What else might I be missing? I remember sitting in one of the groups early in my recovery, understanding that I wasn't understanding. It was like, I don't understand what these people are doing. And then the phrase from the Bible came to my mind, people with eyes to see and ears to hear. And I thought, oh, okay. So my intent, I just said, okay, let my eyes see what they're not seeing, and let me hear what it is I'm not hearing. And I just sat down and continued. And it was a shift point. It was a shift point for me for what I call blinding flashes of the obvious were now clear, instead of, wait a minute, this is, how'd you say that? What'd you say that? Who said that? All that enmeshment conversation that I used to get into. So yeah, so this is about sometimes starkly just breaking open this veil, sometimes incrementally opening it up and then getting a peek and then backing away, because that's what's really there sometimes is really frightening, because I'm on the other side of that veil and everything I thought was bad about me is like, oh my God, there I am. Ooh, let's close that back up. We don't want to see that. So there, this one topic is so faceted that we could spend another 5 years like we've been doing just talking about this, because there's so many layers into it. So we're going to talk about what we talk about so that we're able to talk about what that will enable us to talk about later. And I told the guys in the jail, there's things we're just not talking about. And rightly so, because we have to like get clear what we're talking about now. As soon as we get that clear, then those ideas and themes will come up. So, but right now we're here. Let's stay here. Let's engage where we're at and see what happens.
So it's like I'm not even ready to go to the first principle yet because there's so much to say on this topic.
Do we find a new principle?
Yeah, maybe let's follow it.
Okay.
But I remember when I first started working with you 10 years or so ago, whatever, 12 years ago. And I remember as you taught me and the other guys in our men's group the accountability tree practice that we've talked about many times in our podcast here. In
Yeah.
fact, those of you for whom that's a new term, there are tons and tons of podcasts in the library that the title accountability tree. So you can check those out if you want. But it took me a long time to recognize that what we were doing was essentially offering a new perspective to a series of subconscious beliefs that were reinforced by an emotional bond, or
Hmm.
you like to use the term a feeling tone. I like
Yep.
to use the term family of origin body chemistry
Yep.
that I just simply could not see. I could only react, I could only behave in it.
Right.
So for newcomers, that's why we introduced the podcast by talking about patterns of behavior that seem like obstacles to what we want, that there's something inside of us directing that pattern of behavior.
Right.
And I remember when I would do the accountability tree, I prayed for like a second of separation from that old way of thinking. I didn't even I didn't even pray for the new insight. I just prayed for a wedge. I had this insight that the more a new perspective could create a wedge between my conscious mind and my subconscious mind, that it would give me an increasing power to see into my subconscious mind. And once I could see what's going on there, I can create something different. I can, first of all, create a conscious relationship with that, and
Yeah.
then I can create an intention for something different. So that finding that new perspective, even if it was like for a second, I just remember praying for a second of shift.
Hmm.
And then over time, because we used to meet weekly in our group, over time, I could see that amount of time expanding between
Yeah.
the old inner feeling, sense, belief, and this new way of being and the world I intended to create as a result of doing the accountability tree. So
Yeah.
this shift of perspective is really part of it's the foundation among the foundational tools of what we do here.
Correct. And in recovery terms, it's the sayings they got that are plentiful, but moving from reactive to proactive. That's the wedge you're talking about. Just a moment where you could see where this could have went or usually went, and then oh my God! I mean, and you could choose what you used to do. It's
Right.
like even after the weight, you could still whatever you want to do. It's not telling you what to do. It's giving you options where before there were no options. It was just this reactive thing and then try to get it right the next time, another reactive thing. Now it's like, oh, one of the intents I created was after the statement, the true statement, this is accountability tree. I'm mean. I'm mean to the point of cruelty. Okay. And I took a breath and I said, okay, what do I want to change that to? I intend to be kind. So I know that that intent goes into the subconscious because at that moment, I'm owning I'm mean. Um, and kindness is not, I don't know, kindness. That's why I'm asking for it. So I would go through after that, paying attention. And I noticed one time that something happened, um, I want to say usual happened that I would react to. And what I found myself doing is simply taking a breath. And I said, oh, this is what kindness is. This is an element of kindness. Oh my God. See, I couldn't have known that from where I was at.
Right.
I had to experience it and then let that subconscious, I intend to be kind, offer me the opportunity to be available when it happened to even notice it.
Yeah, it's just like with my cataract. I couldn't know
No.
that my vision had this brown wash over it until one eye didn't.
Yeah, I've had spiritual experiences that were so profound. It was like I could feel it go through my body. Um, and then this one particular one, I was in my apartment, and after the experience, I was going to get something to drink or a cup of coffee or something, and I walk out of the front door, and there's this half wine barrel that's like made into a planter, and there was these flowers all in that half wine barrel, and they were like canopies with little flowers in the, it's just like an umbrella with little. And I saw the red, I saw the texture, I saw the brilliance, I saw the yellow contrast in the middle, which I didn't even notice before. And I could almost taste it all at the same time. And I actually looked around and see if somebody put it there to mess with me. And oh my God, I couldn't see this before. I could not. It was always there. Um, and now whatever veil I had taken down in that epiphany that I had allowed me to see differently, allowed me to see more of the reality I was in than through what we call that filter, that unresolved complex post-traumatic stress, that that it causes a filter that I see through, and I think I'm seeing correctly, but I'm seeing through this filter that is in alignment with the unresolved trauma. Like, I'm not good enough. Well, if I'm not good enough, I don't deserve to see the brilliance, beauty, and magnificence of this little flower. It just, I mean,
So I don't.
and like you and I having this conversation, somebody's listening to this that hasn't had the foundation are going, what are they talking about? Or whatever these guys got, I'm not sure what, but I want it. So, good, good. And we'll talk about the meetings that we have every week and come and participate and learn and see where it leads us.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I wanted to also raise something happened in the meeting that I was in last night. So for the newcomer, we actually do work on these things in Zoom meetings, so you can feel free to join us. We'll talk about how to do that later. Um, and I was talking about this experience that I had with the cataract surgery and that my two eyes now see slightly differently. And that this offered me a perspective I could not have had, even if you told me, even if you told Marty, actually, you're seeing through everything has kind of got a brown tint to it or yellow tint, whatever color, wouldn't matter because
Yeah,
without the contrast, I don't even know what the tint is.
right.
I had to have the change in order to see that. And someone said, that's why I come to the group meetings because I get different perspectives here that help me see myself
Wow.
in ways that I can't see on my own.
Correct.
And I
Wow.
was thinking about, again, another thing to talk about, we've talked about this in other podcasts, like, how do you shift perspective if you're stuck in what appears to be a place where you can't get another perspective? Well, this is one way that we do it, is
Hmm.
we do it in group. Um, and we listen to one another, and we have this power as human beings to detect patterns and also to create comparisons. So I could hear someone testify what his or her experience is. It's similar to something I've gone through, and I can go, well, wait a minute. You're reporting that you had a different experience than I would have. Hmm. I wonder. I wonder if I can take that inside and play with it and see what that might tell me. Or can I reproduce what you did? Can I do
Hmm.
what you did and see if I get a different result?
Right.
So part of the value of the group process is that we are continually offered other perspectives. And if you're in a group, you cannot pay attention. And it's like that's that's all freely offered. And most of the time when people offer what we hear as a different perspective, they're not doing it to offer the perspective. They're just doing it to share a truth of their own experience.
Correct.
But the group together, when everyone is doing that, there's all kinds of new information that we're receiving that we could not anticipate until we got to the meeting.
Right. And the 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 room, the safety and the acceptance in the room based on whatever the dialogue is, whether you're looking at 12 steps or family of origin dysfunction, is different than the environment in family of origin dysfunction, childhood trauma. And you get to see, I get to say something and no one's going to call me an idiot, or no one's going to say, oh, that's not true. I don't get reframed or dismissed. And I just simply get to say, not right or wrong, good or bad, just my experience or my awareness or what I know to be true. And it's accepted without and that's the first meeting I went to. That's what struck me, because they read the problem, which are now the 14 traits. And when they read the problem, like seeing authority figures as a threat, criticism as a threat, fear of authority figures. Well, that's how did they know? How did they know? How did they know? How did they know? That's me. It's like they're like, how did they know I was coming? It's like that's my thought. That was my thought. How did they know I was coming? And I go, oh, all I knew is I'm coming back. I want I didn't even say that. My body moved me to the next day back into that meeting room so I could hear it again and then again and again. So,
Well, we're not going to be able to get to our first principle today. I don't want to. I don't want to do it short shrift, so we can pick that up next week. But because I think this is an important conversation,
yeah,
particularly for the newcomer, because oftentimes when we're going through the tumult or chaos or depression that leads to taking steps to get into recovery, we often I remember feeling like I had this powerful and cruel voice in my head that I would think, can I get a crowbar and just pop my brain out of my skull? So powerful and cruel were the thoughts in my head, and I had no way to have another perspective. I was
no,
stuck. I felt stuck with it. So no wonder people drink. No wonder people use drugs. No wonder people become workaholics. No wonder people run away. These things are painful.
yes,
And they're painful psychologically, and for many of us, they can also lead to physical ailments.
yes,
So powerful is the human mind.
yeah,
So it's part of the pain is that we feel all alone, and we have no evidence that anybody else has got any solutions, that we're just stuck.
hmm,
And feeling stuck is so depressing, so frightening, uh, so harmful that we don't know what to do. And sometimes it's so bad people commit suicide, as we know.
yeah,
So the first thing that happened to you, if I can just feed back, when you went to your first adult child of alcoholics meeting, is a new perspective was shared, a perspective that you heard, and you
hmm,
didn't know what it was, but it was of sufficient power that you said, I want to come back and get more.
right,
So
mhm,
automatically something happened that offered you hope, offered you a potential way out, whatever. Those are my words. You might have had a different experience. But that was the same thing for me in my first adult child of alcoholics meeting. It was like I was utterly shocked. My my experience was, oh my God, other people have the same issues I do.
yep,
Like I'm not alone.
no,
That feeling all or that information all by itself shifted my perspective,
yep,
gave me information that made the possibility of hope and made the possibility of maybe I can change this real, as opposed to that'll never happen.
correct, yep, very good. I agree. Wow.
So So the power of perspective, the ability to see things differently. So, we began this conversation because you made the observation that the principles that we use here, um, we sometimes word them in a way that someone hearing them for the first time may be taken aback. Like the very first principle that's on our list is we're always getting what we want.
Yeah. Like, what? Wait a minute. Maybe you are. I don't
Right.
want any of this. Yeah. And
Yeah.
dialogue starts.
So the only way that that can begin to make sense is to hear the perspective from which it's offered.
Yep.
Because what we do with our power to compare is we're just going to take that statement and compare it to our own experience and go, you guys are nuts.
Hmm.
And that's an appropriate reaction. I'm sure it was my reaction when I first heard it. Um, but then I was open to say, okay, so why do you say that? Or
Okay.
how is that possibly true? And so
Right.
we have a whole podcast or two on that very first one. In fact, there are, I'm not even sure the number of principles. I'll count them up for next week, but there's some 20 principles or so that we've developed over the course of working together,
Hmm.
most of which are stated in a somewhat blunt and provocative terms. Like the
Yep.
one we were going to talk about today, we'll talk about next week, is you become what you hate.
Yeah.
You become what you hate. What?
What? Mm-mm.
So, or the one we worked on last week, we are always feeling something you can't not feel, or you can't not feel.
Right.
What? What?
Yep.
So the principles are, as you said, they're here to offer um, the possibility of a new perspective. New perspective is how healing occurs. I disidentify from my wounded child and I start identifying with what I say I want in my life. So, as I've shared on the group or this podcast many times, I intend to create a world of joy, peace, freedom, community, and health. That's that's where my adult identity is. And over time, that's become the world that I live in, not the world of little Marty who intended to create a world of fear, hypervigilance, anxiety, and drama. And that's the feeling tone I used to wake up in every morning. So in order to
Yeah.
change that, I had to see that I had that inside of me as a desire in my subconscious mind. In fact, I've shared with you many times. I didn't even know about my subconscious mind till I met you.
Yeah. That was news, huh?
Much less that I could access what's in there.
Correct.
So that's what the accountability practice helped me do. So as we wrap up this conversation about the power of perspective, I want to again reiterate to everybody who's watching, and particularly if you're a newcomer, we actually work on the questions of people's lives. What are the obstacles? What are the things that are keeping you from the feeling that you're a self-empowering, self-loving individual? What are the behaviors that you find um, you're repeating over and over again that your conscious mind says you don't want, and yet you're doing them? Uh, we have a very specific practice. It's called the accountability tree that we use in our meetings. The meetings are facilitated. John facilitates meetings on Saturday mornings. I facilitate meetings on Wednesday afternoon. And our colleagues, Dan and Rodney, facilitate meetings on Monday and Thursday evenings, respectively. And we invite you to the meeting. You can just come and witness other people doing the work, or you can join in. It's always possible to jump in the deep end of the pool. Um, Come ask questions. And information on how to access these Zoom meetings will be at the very end of the podcast. They were at the beginning as well. And just come on in, come on over, and check it out. Maybe get a new perspective.
Sounds
So,
good, Marty.
so As always, John, the last word can go to you.
Actually, I'm going to pass today and pick it up next week.
All right. Thanks, John. See you next week. Thanks, everybody.